Hey, what's going on, SMT Nation? It's your boy, the SMT. Happy Monday. Following the big game, the NFL Championship. Big congrats to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their fans on an incredible championship game. They win the championship with pretty convincing fashion. Anyways, I watched the whole game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're a Tampa Bay fan, obviously you're ecstatic. If you're a Chiefs fan, the future is bright. No worries, they'll be back. That team is loaded, locked and loaded for a bright future. Anyways, with that introduction, let's kind of talk about what we saw in the during the big game in terms of advertisements and presence and marketing, and how the carriers performed with respect to coverage and preparation and performance and things like that. Before I do that, though, I just want to let you guys know I do apologize for doing this while on the road on my way to work. But I didn't want to forget the stuff that I had, mulling around in my head. So I wanted to put this to recording and just give you like my initial thoughts and, impressions or whatever. And I do, apologize for the road noise. I'm doing this over Bluetooth on my Google Pixel Buds on the Moto Edge Plus. So if you're curious as to how I'm recording and that process, that's what it is. So again, I apologize for the road noise. Not much I can do about that. All the windows are closed and everything. It's like 8 degrees here in the CLE, so it's also freaking cold, so I gotta at least put the heater on low. Alright, so anyways, the three major carriers that we obviously wanted to watch out for, and a little bit of cord cutting stuff news here too. So let's take each of the carriers and analyze or reflect on what we saw from them. Okay, so starting with T-Mobile, it was an absolute all-out assault marketing campaign on blast. All right, they took advantage of the opportunity to get their name brand out to the public, front and centered. T-Mobile put themselves as I think the most frequently advertised carrier of the big three. They had 5G commercials or ads. They had Anthony Anderson and the Mama football game. You had the Gronk Brady thing. You had the Travis Kelce. All these different adverts, and the branding was out there. They did a really, really good job. I don't know if anybody expected them to go that big for the big game, but they most definitely did. And they put their branding at the front of the big game. Out of all the carriers, they took the cake. The most advertisements. I think if you reflect on which carrier you remember the most from the big game, you'll think of T-Mobile. So I've always said, and this dates back last year, the only thing that's really missing about T-Mobile's marketing campaign is their presence with the NFL. It's the biggest sport in the country. I know they have the MLB relationship, and I know they've got other stuff that goes on at the company that everybody's really excited about with T-Vision and home internet, but they had to have presence at least during the NFL games on Sundays, and they did so in a big way with the big game. So they put themselves front and center for display, the 5G, the network performance. Looking at one of their advertisements, well, it was the Blake Sheldon and Gwen Stefani, how they met with Adam Levine and all that stuff, or whatever, the guy from Maroon 5. Anyways, they made it so T-Mobile actually emphasized 5G task, and they used video calling as a 5G task. Now, in and of itself, without scrutinizing that actual task as a 5G task, all right, the advertisement was brilliant. They had stars, they had celebrities, they had name recognition, all the things you want in an ad campaign, they had it. So they did a really good job of that. And they hit you with the frequency. It played a lot, multiple times. I think I saw that one at least 3 times. I saw at least a half dozen different runs of ads. So their presence was there. Now, in terms of the 5G task, right, video calling be a 5G task, it is not a 5G task. To be honest with you, and this is not me putting down T-Mobile, I'm not a hater, none of that stuff. It's really not that. Video calling is not a 5G task. But that's what T-Mobile wanted to do with their commercial, to let people know that if you have their 5G, you'll have a great video calling experience. So in and of itself, video calling is not a 5G task. But and this is what the commercial in the ad is saying, if you have T-Mobile's 5G, you will have excellent video calling. So they put a task to 5G access, which is smart. So they're basically saying, go with us, get the 5G, get a phone, and boom, you got the best access in the country. All right. To be honest with you, I have the hardest time live streaming on T-Mobile. So I don't know if that's going to be better once their 5G is better here in the CLE, so it'll change for me. But I'm just speaking to the branding and the commercial and the approach of how they're doing that, okay? So overall, I think T-Mobile did a great job. It was aggressive. They were frequent, and they did a good job of just blasting their name. And I think this calls back to what Mike Sievert said. The perception of the carriers, is really important to them. He mentioned it at their earnings report last week. I've said it in the past. I did a video on it before Mike Sievert spoke to it. When you look at the surveys of who has the best 5G, people still say publicly, they still say it's Verizon. So last year, Verizon had a 47% mind share in a specific survey that I was reading. 47% said Verizon had the best 5G. This year, it dropped to 43%. Last year, T-Mobile was at 20%. This year, it's at 23%. So T-Mobile's coming up in that perception of 5G, and Verizon is going down in that perception. So you want to take that momentum and really focus it and hone in to try to change the perception about the network. Because in the past, T-Mobile has had a lesser network than the other two carriers. For the most part, Verizon has dominated the mind share when it comes to quality of network and network performance. So they are clearly attacking it. They're going to stuff it down people's throats over and over and over again. That was a completely, aerial assault of adverts trying to change the perception. And I think T-Mobile did a fine job doing it. I don't know if you could have did it any better. If you're T-Mobile or you're on the advertising team, the marketing team, you guys knocked it out of the park. You killed it. I will address this one thing, having discussions on Twitter with the community. Let me tell you guys about the whole advertising, the GOAT commercial with the 5G, GOAT 5G. That commercial was never going to air during the big game. There was no way. The NFL and Verizon are deep in together. That commercial was not made for the Super Bowl. It was never going to be aired during the big game, ever. It never had a chance. For T-Mobile to try to spin it like they were banned from the Super Bowl, that's nonsense. The only people reporting that is T-Mobile themselves. They were not banned from the Super Bowl. You're not going to air that during the NFL's partnership with Verizon. So if T-Mobile really thinks people are buying that, I got a bridge for sale in Brooklyn, and I got an oceanfront property in Idaho I'll sell you. So, but anyways, T-Mobile killed it in the advertising and the marketing. Network-wise, T-Mobile had a ton of millimeter wave within the stadium, from what I understand. They bolstered the network in that way. There was a lot of Band 71 in and around the stadium or whatever. No N41 sightings at all. I had a Twitter poll. You guys can check it out at SneedTech on Twitter. Which screenshots were we going to see the most of? If it was going to be the N41 or the N260. And it was really, really close in the voting poll. 51% said N260, the millimeter wave 39 gigahertz, and 49% said N41. It was a trick question. There was no N41 in the Super Bowl. And the reason for that is the interference concerns. All the DAS systems that are pushing the Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz and the like, it was going to make that very troublesome and problematic. So they focused on millimeter wave, which is what you should have done, and it was good that they did that. Also, out and about in Tampa, hopefully, I don't know, hopefully they had a bunch of N41 and they were able to display that mid-band 5G, really prove what the merger was about. And then from what I saw, the T-Mobile network held up. So, I know they were only seating like 20 or 22,000 people, so it wasn't too challenging or difficult for the carriers, but all they had to do was make sure they had enough capacity. They didn't have to, do overkill. All the upgrades are permanent, so residents of Tampa who have T-Mobile can benefit from those upgrades. But they did a great job. T-Mobile, obviously trying to change the perception about their network, trying to be, visually known as a big player, and they are now, right? They're the second biggest company in wireless. They have 102 million subscribers, passing AT&T, and now they're 8 to 10 million customers away from competing with Verizon as number one. So we'll see how that goes. In terms of Verizon, looking at them as the next carrier, they had the 5G gaming thing. They had the Samuel L. Jackson commercials. They had the situation with ultra low lag was something they're emphasizing. They also spoke to this 5G experience they created for fans at the stadium and through apps for fans at home. So while T-Mobile is advertising and pushing the use case of 5G, used for video calling, Verizon was introducing new mindshare, ultra low lag for gaming. They've got the Twitch partnership, they've got the MEC with Amazon Web Services and other things, really pushing the narrative that all this new state-of-the-art, new applications, new use cases, that's what Verizon's doing with their 5G ultra wideband. So that's what they did. They had plenty of commercials, they had plenty of mind share and ad share, but not even close to what T-Mobile had. So there's not really much for me to emphasize for Verizon other than their partnership with the NFL. Very strong, the roots are deep, and it looks like that'll continue moving forward. But overall, I think a successful night for Big Red. The carrier that I will say was the most disappointing and the most uneventful, and they didn't really accomplish much, was AT&T. This is a microcosm of AT&T's lack of investment into marketing in their products. I saw one AT&T ad, and it was for AT&T Fiber, their home internet fiber, which also is business fiber too. But that was it. There was no mention of wireless. There was no mention of FirstNet. From what I understand, the network performed just fine. That held up. They bolstered FirstNet cows, cells on wheels with trucks. They had bolstered DAS systems all over the city. That wasn't the issue. The issue is the fact that they still, to this day, did not advertise appropriately. So while T-Mobile is killing it with volume and fun commercials and ads and personalities, and entertainment, and Verizon with the ultra low lag gaming and the unique experiences, the concert series, AT&T accomplished nothing. It's so sad because AT&T has an absolutely incredible network. Wirelessly, they have incredible capacity. Their carrier aggregation strategies and all the spectrum and their upgrades and their backhaul, and you wouldn't even know it because they don't even care to advertise it. Maybe it's a sign of their debt problems that they're unwilling to spend. I joked, on Twitter and said, they're probably not going to be eating organic anymore. They're going to be eating conventional to save money. People are saying times are tough and cost cutting, but man, no presence during the big game at all. So, I saw Paramount Plus advertised. I saw, the Disney bundle. I saw Hulu mentions, no mention of HBO Max, no push for AT&T TV. They want to be a media company and they did not advertise their media. Absolutely incredible. Huge fumble, mind the pun, huge missed opportunity for them to capitalize on it. Anyways, I didn't want to bore everybody with everything, but honestly, it looks like the carriers held up. Verizon had tons of millimeter wave, 5G ultra wideband. Hans Vesper tweeted out, screenshots of, speed tests of 2.7 gigs per second and 3 gigs per second and all that. We know that the Verizon's ultra wideband is absolutely incredible. The most capacity, biggest capacity, in the game when it comes to that stuff. But it looks like the carriers held up. We'll have to wait for the data. I'll be doing a follow-up video on that, as well as, bringing this up on the podcast. But honestly, T-Mobile killed it. They took advantage of the opportunity. They spent a lot of money. They're going to have some explaining to do to the investors. The budget on this Super Bowl, they spent tons and tons of money. We'll talk about that in a later video or on the podcast. Verizon, obviously they capitalized, continuing their marketing push with the ultra wideband, and then AT&T completely dropping the ball there. Not sure if that's ever going to change anytime soon, but it really should. So that's it for this one. I know it was a long video, but I just had to get all that out there. I'll listen to your take. You guys go ahead and comment below. Let me know what you think of any of these things. Let me know if I missed anything during the game. Give me your thoughts and impressions on what each of the carriers did or didn't do. And go ahead and get that conversation going down in the comment section below. Anyways, have a great rest of the day. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.